We don't want you to go in there and just refrac every well. We get that. I mean, we can't impact your horizontal reserves.
Well, you don't want to frac hit a horizontal well?
I would love to. I really would. But more often than not, they frac hit us and we see some uplift from it. At the end of the day, it's kind of a win-win situation. The value that we look for is in the RTP. What can we turn back on? You guys have had a drilling program for the last 5 years. You've turned off 50% of the wells. All it takes is the flip of a switch to turn them back on. And we could take production from where it's at to where it was 5 years ago.
Welcome to An Ounce of Prevention, the podcast. At our recent associates, we believe that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Our daily commitment lies in informing our clients about legal risks without hindering their business objectives. As we like to say, we're in the business of building companies and helping executives sleep at night. So stay tuned. Maybe you'll learn something that'll help your business grow and thrive.
Welcome to An Ounce of Prevention, where we believe an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I'm your host, Rachel Reese. Before we get started, let's take a quick look at a recent case law update and break down what it means for your business. Today's case is Miko, LLC versus Targa Gas Marketing, LLC, out of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. This case involves a dispute arising from Winter Storm Uri and addresses how far a seller can go in relying on force majeure clauses to excuse non-performance under a NASB contract. First off, what's a NASB? In the simplest of explanations, a NASB is the standardized contract used to sell natural gas. Miko and Targa were parties to multiple natural gas transactions governed by a NASB. Under those agreements, Targa was obligated to deliver specific volumes of gas to Miko at different price structures, some fixed price and others indexed to market prices. When Winter Storm Uri swept across Texas in February of 2021, the demand for gas increased, and combined with a tight supply of natural gas, prices spiked dramatically. During that time, Targa delivered only a portion of the gas it had committed to deliver. Targa claimed that the storm constituted a force majeure event that excused its non-performance. Miko disagreed and sued for breach of contract, arguing that Targa failed to meet its delivery obligations and improperly allocated partial gas deliveries between a fixed-price contract and a variable spot market contract. The district court initially sided with Targa on the issue of force majeure, granting partial summary judgment and holding that Winter Storm Uri excused Targa's failure to perform. The court reasoned that the storm qualified as a force majeure event and that Targa was not required to purchase replacement gas at extreme prices to fulfill its obligations. However, the issue of improperly allocating partial gas deliveries between contracts was tried in front of a jury, which found in favor of Miko. Both parties appealed. Miko challenged the force majeure ruling, while Targa challenged the jury's verdict on allocation. On appeal, the Fifth Circuit took a more detailed look at the force majeure defense and concluded that there were genuine disputes of material fact about whether Targa's failure to perform was truly caused by Winter Storm Uri, including whether Targa's usual sources of gas, including third-party purchases, were actually unavailable. While the court acknowledged that Winter Storm Uri was extraordinary and disruptive, it emphasized that the existence of a force majeure event alone is not enough. To be excused from performance, Targa still had to show that the storm actually caused its inability to perform and that it exercised reasonable efforts to avoid or mitigate the failure, such as attempting to obtain gas from alternate sources, even if doing so would have been extremely costly. The court found that the record did not conclusively establish that Targa's gas supply options were completely unavailable, or that Targa had done everything the contract required to attempt to perform. As a result, the court reversed the summary judgment ruling on force majeure and sent that issue back for further proceedings. By contrast, the Fifth Circuit upheld the jury's verdict on allocation. The court found that the jury's determination that available gas should be delivered first to the fixed price contract instead of the variable spot market contract was supported by evidence and consistent with applicable trade usage and the parties' expectations. Additionally, the jury was entitled to determine that Targa should not have prioritized certain deliveries, especially those tied to more favorable pricing, at Miko's expense. In the end, the Fifth Circuit reversed in part, affirmed in part, and remanded the case. Their decision and findings are an important reminder for energy market participants that force majeure clauses are not automatic escape hatches. Even in extreme events like Winter Storm Uri, sellers must be prepared to show a clear causal link between the event and the non-performance, and must demonstrate meaningful efforts to mitigate or overcome supply disruptions. Like I always say, on the matter of force majeure, stick to the contract. That's it for today. I'd like to thank Tannen Sim, an associate in our Houston office, for his help on this update. Today, I'm joined by John Benevides, President and CEO of New Height Energy. John has spent more than a decade in upstream oil and gas, leading production, operations, and workover programs across the Permian Basin. His career with operators like Occidental and Callon Petroleum gives him a rare and practical perspective on how value is truly created in the conventional oil and gas space. Welcome to An Ounce of Prevention, John.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get started, you are at New Height now. Tell us about New Height.
New Height is a small but growing team focused on distressed conventional and unconventional vertical assets, primarily in the Permian Basin at the moment. Do have some fringy stuff on the Northwest Shelf and down the Southern Midland Basin area, but small but mighty, trying to grow.
Great. Okay, so when you say distressed, what do you mean by distressed?
Distressed for us is anything that's capital starved, anything neglected, forgotten, maybe already developed, and it's just no longer kind of at the priority list of other groups, whether they've moved on to different basins, different assets, focusing on horizontal drilling, anything like that kind of fits into that category of it's just forgotten and neglected.
Yeah, I remember being in house and there was a lot of that, right? And it's not that, there's anything necessarily wrong. It's just that they're allocating capital and time and there's only so much of it and it gets put elsewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. So why do you guys focus on distressed?
Well, there's still a lot of value in those wells, and it's easy for larger companies, larger operators to forget about them, obviously, for obvious reasons. They want to focus on their bigger horizontal wells, the wells that make more per day. That's where their capital program, their workover program gets focused on those wells. Mm-hmm. So these wells tend to get forgotten, but there's still a lot of value in there. Again, it makes sense. You're going to focus on the 100 barrel a day well, not the 10 barrel a day well.
Yeah.
But there's still value.
And you guys have done a few of these by now, right?
We have. We've got 3 acquisitions under our belt now. Hopefully a couple more coming our way this coming year. We'll see if we can get those across the finish line, but we've got a few.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
If I'm an operator and I'm hearing this and I'm going, oh, you know what? I might have something like this. Tell me why an operator should choose New Height as opposed to someone else in the space.
Well, I think for us, it's because we now have the playbook. We've done different deals where it's a full asset acquisition. Operators exiting the area for various reasons. We've done that. We've also done Wellbore-only deals, right, where there's still active horizontal drilling. Operator just wants to reallocate their resources, personnel, time management to their horizontal wells, but they will just divest the vertical wellbores only. We'll take that over. Of course, there's a little bit of a list of things to get through, cooperative operations agreement, et cetera, but we have the playbook. We've done it. And then we feel like, we've done marketed and bilateral negotiated deals. We are always competitive in either process.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a little bit, cleaner if we can step in, give you the value that you're going to get, whether you stick with us or go market it anyways.
Yeah.
And we move forward.
Tell me more about what's in this playbook.
So, we view it as a partnership, especially for the Wellbore-only deals. It's not an asset transaction where you're leaving the area, we're never going to see you again. For those deals, we're still playing in the same sandbox. So we still have to have great partnership. We're working together. We're sharing roads. We're sharing power lines, et cetera. So within that playbook is, saltwater disposal agreement, cooperative operations agreement, electrical metering agreement, things of that nature that, as all of the facilities and have been intertwined is how do we detangle them and keep them separate but still work together to kind of make things happen.
Yeah. I mean, on the legal side, there's nothing worse than someone who doesn't understand that entanglement and you get to closing and they're like, oh, what are we going to do about all of this,
exactly.
Right? Well, we have to share it going forward.
Exactly. Yeah. And we found that a lot, especially with groups that haven't even looked at a possibility of a vertical wellbore sale like this. They just don't know where to start. So, that's where we can step in and say, here's the playbook. We got to look at all these things, aside from value, and we can get there.
Yeah. And I think it also helps that since you guys have done this before, you know what you're getting into, right? When you say you're going to share a road, you know what that means.
Exactly. Yeah. And then also, the restrictions that we have to live within for a deal like that of, a lot of operators, that's what they come up with is we don't want you to go in there and just refrac every well. We get that. I mean, we can't impact your horizontal reserves.
Well, you don't want to frac hit a horizontal well?
I would love to. I really would. But more often than not, they frac hit us and we see some uplift from it. I mean, you know, when they drill a new well, they frac it, we see some uplift on our side. And at the end of the day, it's kind of a win-win situation. You know, yeah, there are times where we do get the ability to be a little more flexible, and we enjoy those and we take advantage of those. But beyond that, I mean, the value that we look for is in the RTP. You know, what can we turn back on? You guys have had a drilling program for the last 5 years. You've turned off 50% of the wells. All it takes is the flip of a switch to turn them back on. And we could, you know, take production from where it's at to where it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember being in-house and selling things at times when, you know, that well hasn't produced in however long. And then they, you know, you hear from them a few months later. Did you realize that it was just the generator that was turned off and we just went in and turned it back on?
It's things like that. It's just easy things that people forget about.
Yeah. And it's easy to forget, right? You're being pulled in a lot of different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For us, the challenge is the personnel efficiency. I mean, you know, it's still the same thing. If you've got a large number of wellbores you got to focus on, so you got to be as efficient as possible with your personnel.
Tell me more about that. How do you guys achieve that?
Oh, well, it's a growing process for us. I mean, obviously, we're still young, still small, but as we grow, we definitely see a heavy need in automation. Mm-hmm. You know, that's going to be critical for us as we continue to scale in the future. And then just, you know, as tough as it is, finding the right personnel that are willing to take more on their plate. And, you know, hey, guys, we're all working hard here. We're all small, mighty team, but let's do what we can to make it happen.
Yeah. Just for my own education, are you... You know, you say you need more automation. Tell me more about that. What kind of automation are we talking about?
Really just, you know, SCADA to be able to remotely view things, remotely view what's going on out in the field. And that's not, you know, getting to the remote pumper mindset that you kind of often hear about with some of the bigger companies. But it's more so of like helping our guys know where to go every day. To where they don't
can't hit every well every day.
Yeah, you can't hit every well every day. You can't hit every facility every day. But if they have a way to help them identify problem areas, you know, early in the morning, they can go to target those. That's how we're going to see what we get there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And also, I think we talked about this before, you need your assets to be either large enough to justify, you know, sending pumpers all over the place, or they all need to be sort of aggregated in the same area. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, right now we're only in the Permian, but we're not planning on staying there forever. We definitely would look out. It's just got to be a good foothold for us and create a good scalable opportunity, you know, to go plant new resources and plant new personnel.
Where are you thinking? Where do you like right now? That's what I want to know. Where do you like?
I think my opinion is probably a little bit different than others, but you know, for us, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't make money, right? It can be a gas play in Haynesville, can be we've looked at Eagle Ford, can be a Mid-Con, we've looked at DJ. We've looked all over. It's just, does it make money, and what is the scale to go turn wells back online and boost production? So that's really all we're looking for at the moment.
But I feel like, correct me if I'm totally off base here, you know, you have to look at a basin that has had historical production, and even better, if it has new unconventional or horizontal production, that sort of helps you because then you have that partnership and you're not just doing an exit. Am I thinking about that correctly? Yeah,
I mean, there is that, you know, function if you're doing it from a Wellbore-only deal.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are a lot of groups that are, you know, take Oxy, for example. They have a large number of what they call EOR assets, you know, enhanced oil recovery. So they're, you know, more than likely sometimes they're trying to shed those. You know, it's a small field, what they consider small, but for us it's 1,000 barrels a day. They want to get rid of it. It's a distressed field because it's not a horizontal unconventional field. So it makes sense. And that is a total asset sale. They're exiting that position.
That makes sense. Okay, so I want to hear more about these marketed processes. I have noticed lately in the ones that we've been involved in with our clients that, you know, there are a lot of crazy bids right now. I think some people are just getting desperate and just need to get an asset, but then they don't always close, right? And so give me your perspective on that.
So, yeah, we've seen that too. A lot of the times what we find in those cases, it's, you know, two guys with a briefcase and a dream. They're just trying to get out there, right? And all power to them. I hope they get there.
Sort of like, if we sign it, they will come.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we've had one deal in particular with a privately owned operator in the Permian that It was a semi-marketed process, we'll say. They were handling it internal with 3 or 4, buyers.
Okay.
The initial winning buyer was they were a little bit higher on their number, and they didn't redline the PSA at all. They just signed it. Like, okay, good luck.
For me, that's a red flag.
Yeah, exactly.
That
should be for anybody, right? There's got to be, so everybody has issues within a PSA. So, sure enough, 6 months later, they called back, hey, the buyer fell through. So, I mean, I do think you're going to continue to see that with guys just or groups trying to grow and trying to be aggressive. But, at the end of the day, especially with assets like these, they're very hard to get financed.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to swing the needle on production quickly, drilling a horizontal well or things like that. So you really have to have a good base of capital behind you going into the process if you are going to get aggressive.
Yeah. And one of the things in the PSA that you and I spoke about was these performance bonds for some of these legacy assets. Tell me more about that, and then I totally want to get into your idea about it.
Yeah, it's a growing topic, right? For
it used to just be Louisiana, right?
Right, yeah. And I get it. I mean, for, bigger groups that are trying to shed the liability of these assets, the last thing they want is for that liability to come back through chain of title.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get it. The problem that as a buyer we have with a performance bond is it's just sunk cost. It doesn't benefit us at all. It only benefits the sellers. And then if we go sell the assets to somebody else, is there another performance bond that we have to get to, how does that chain continue to work?
Yeah, it makes it harder for you to sell the assets later on because then you have to require them to have a performance bond.
Exactly. So it's tough. And we've started to explore some alternatives to that performance bond that still satisfy the sellers, today of you're not going to have that liability come back on you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still beneficial to us, right? It's a, whether it's an escrow account with everybody's name on it or something like that just, we agree to put money in there and we pull it back out later, whatever that is. We've started to explore some options. We just got to find the alternative to a performance bond that's nothing but a sunk cost. Yeah,
I love that idea. So the concept is, and tell me what I get wrong in this, you decide how much it's going to take to P&A this field. And you put all of that into an escrow that both the buyer and the seller are on and can withdraw from under certain circumstances. As you P&A wells, you're able to withdraw for the actual cost of the P&A.
Mm-hmm.
And then if something were to happen and you were to go belly up, there's all of this money here that you've all agreed is the cost of P&A of those wells. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. And there's obviously some nuances in there between that of sellers being wanting to accept that, right? Especially if there's not a lump sum dropped in kind of from day one.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be tough for sellers to get behind that. And whatever that kind of looks like, we're still working the math out on it. But I think there's got to be an alternative to this that is more beneficial to the buyers in addition to the sellers. Because otherwise it's just sunk costs that you're essentially double paying for your plugging as the buyer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we're all looking for different strategies to make things economic, right? I mean, I remember wasn't that long ago that a Wellbore-only deal was crazy, or that people wouldn't buy non-op interests at all.
Right.
Right? And now, people are, there's a whole department at Oxy. That's all that they do.
Exactly.
So, never say never.
Yep. No, I think it'll continue to be a growing thing for a lot of groups, especially as, groups like us, we're not the only one out there, but get in front of those bigger groups, bigger companies that, hey, this is possible. This is what we can do, know, and then especially for, some of the private equity groups that their business strategy is to sell it at some point, right? Of, hey, it's that much more attractive to sell these verticals to us, and then you flip the horizontal development to somebody else, right? So the timing on that makes a lot of sense, right? If you get rid of that plugging liability, all of a sudden everything looks better. Exactly, yeah. And everything's cleaner, everything's a little bit simpler, so it just makes more sense. You're taking these assets that have often been neglected or ignored for a little while. I'm sure you've got some good stories that come out of that. What do you have for me? I guess our best story that we have was one of our owners today, when they first took over operations. They're OFS guys by background, so they've never been on the operator side, and that was their dream, was to get to the customer side, right? Okay. First well that they were kind of working over, which is oddly enough was occurring during my interview with them. They were on that well already. Kind of had a plan to go in there and dump some acid and how to do it, and we kind of brainstormed about it and took that well from 2 barrels a day to over 100 barrels a day for about a month and a half. Of course, it trickled back down slightly above where it is, but I mean, we saw 100 a day for 6 weeks and then trickled down from there. So it was a huge win for us. And those are the ones that, grand slam, bottom of the ninth hits right there. We got to look for.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully when you're doing that when the price of oil is 70 and not 30.
That'd be great.
Yeah. What's that well doing now?
It's back down to 5, but still above where it was, and there's offsets that are similar to it that we can go out and do the same thing. But, again, that's the distress that we talk about is It was a vertical well, really soft frac put on initially just to hold the acreage. And, now we have it. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about buying, a large package of wells is presumably a lot of these were done the same, and so they're going to have the same issues and they're going to have the same solutions.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially in the unconventional fields like that wells in Glasscock County, you're going to have pretty much that same profile. You start to get more of the eastern side of that county, you hit the nose, but for the most part, you're going to have that same geology. All
right. Well, what else do you want to tell us?
Not much. Give us a call. We're ready to buy your wells. We're currently in the market for a new equity raise as well, trying to grow. Like I said, that's part of it. So trying to raise some additional capital. What that looks like, whether that's equity or debt, we're still trying to solve for. But, that's our initiative right now is grow however we can.
Well, fantastic. And we've been so pleased to be along with you guys on the ride for this.
Yeah, appreciate the help. Jim and Tanya doing great job for us, Miranda as well. So really appreciate all the help and effort from your team.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Okay, final thoughts? Anything?
Got nothing.
All right, that's okay. All right, well, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, appreciate it.
The information and material in this episode is general information about our practice and firm and is for educational and informational purposes only. This information does not offer specific legal advice, and the use of this information does not create an attorney-client relationship with RRNA or any of its attorneys. The information in this episode, or any episode of An Ounce of Prevention, should not be considered legal advice, and persons should not act upon this information without first engaging professional legal counsel.
Thank you for listening to An Ounce of Prevention, presented by R. Reese & Associates. If you found this episode informative, subscribe to, rate, and review our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to stay up to date with future episodes, case law updates, and breaking news. If you have any questions or are interested in learning what RRNA's outsourced legal department can do for your company, reach out to us at podcast@rreeselaw.com. That's podcast@rreeselaw.com. Follow us on LinkedIn or call 832-831-2289.